Hi, hey Russ here. Welcome back to my shop. So I have a riddle for you. When is a legacy mill not a legacy mill? When it's a legacy workstation, of course. Anyway, welcome back. This is part 6 of my legacy workstation. And now I'm going to show you some real improvements on this thing because it's no longer just my legacy mill. And let me show you why. First thing I did was recently I took all my Dremel stuff and I've moved it over here. This is my Dremel cabinet. Originally it was sitting over there somewhere and I showed it to you back I think April or May when I did that wood hinge video showing wood hinges in the workshop. And anyway, this was that cabinet. Well, now I finally found a home for it. It can sit right here. And when I need it, I can just open it up, grab out the accessories that I need for my Dremel right out of here. If I'm going to do a lot of work getting in and out of that cabinet, I can actually pull it off of there and set it down on my workbench. I can set it down here on my workbench. Whoa, that's okay. And open it up here to use it while I'm using my Dremel. And I have put my Dremels over here too. This is my Dremel with the hand wand. And I have it hanging here and plugged in and switched right here, along with my shop vac. This power strip turns on and off, and if I turn it on, it'll make this come on if I want, or my shop vac come on, depending on what I'm doing. But this is an on and off for my hand sanders and all those and my shop vac, all those type of things. I just plug it in and I can use it. If I want to use it without switching, there's another plug-in over here that I can use for. It's got power all the time. So I've kind of hooked up my switches a little bit better. This is all-time power. This is the plug-in to this power strip, and this switch here controls the power switch with it off right now because I do have my shop vac plugged in there right here, and if I turn it on, then my shop vac will come on. So if I don't want the shop vac, I can plug in just my Dremel and turn it on. Then I can use my Dremel by turning it on and off here and do Dremel work. So I can do a lot of hand carving now right here from the workstation. And when I'm done, I can take my cabinet and since this is on a French cleat, I can just put it right back up there and I'm done. I'm good to go. So I've got some electricity now going here the way I'm kind of comfortable with doing it. This controls my lights and my dust hood. So, and this is plugged into the overhead light. So when the overhead lights go off at night when I go in, this automatically turns off here. So this is pretty congenial. I have this table here that sits on top and locks down, has pins to go into the track. And then to hold it in place, I have my stop blocks here that I can take and hook it up on there, lock it down, and now my table is set, and I can use this as a workbench if I want. And I do all my I do a lot of my glue up stuff here now because of the lighting and everything. I do all my hand sanding and my power sanding with power sanders because of the shop vac capability and the dust hood. Dust is very much under control when I use this as a sanding station. Also, when I use it as a carving station, it's really great because, again, all the fine dust goes away, along with being able to grab the shop vac and clean up your chips as you go along, too, or blow them away, depending on what you're doing. So this is more than just a legacy mill now. It's a full workstation that happens to be able to allow me to mill things on my legacy, too. I have to tell you, I love my legacy mill, but I don't really spend 8 hours a day, every day on my legacy mill. I do a lot of other things. I do a lot of sanding. I do carving. I do wood burning. You know, I do many different things. And so this now I can do a lot of those other things on here. In fact, I find myself coming here more using this station than my regular workbench. With the added feature of the dust hood and the blowing capability of my shop vac, this is actually very handy. But also, instead of, if I want to hold something down on this table, let me show you. I have my Xylus vise, and I think I showed this to you when I was using it as part of my milling table originally. And since then, I built my new milling table, and so I don't use it for that anymore. But I still can very quickly mount this thing right side up, use the vise here, or I can mount it upside down and use this vise instead. And so I can, and if you know anything about the Xylus vise, you know this is kind of like the Swiss Army knife of vices. You can do probably 15 different configurations with this vise to hold things on lots of different ways. It's really marvelous. And I bought mine off of eBay after I watched the Xylus demos that are out there. There's about 6 really good demos about how the Xylus works. And after you watch those, you'll be really impressed with what you can do with this. So it's a handy thing to have in my shop. And I can take it on and off the bench and use it here. So I can use this as a hold down on my work surface if I really want to take a piece of wood and hold it down. Whether I'm holding it down this way and clamping it down, or hold it this way in this vise, which I can also do. And so I can hold just about anything. It makes it really handy to hold my work and hold it still while I'm doing things to it. So you don't want to use a 12-pound sledgehammer up here. That would be foolish. Use your head. But for normal, everyday work and everything else, I don't use a hammer any bigger than this for what I'm doing here. It's that simple. If I need a bigger hammer, it's time to move it over to my regular workbench and do the work instead. So keep that in mind. But it's very handy for all those different things that I'm now doing. Also, another way to hold down, I can take this and move it. Whoops. Let's get this out of my way. And what I can do is, instead of using this, I can use this for holding my work if I'm doing any carving or sanding or whatever I'm doing. This bench actually works real good for all those sort of things. It isn't just for the Legacy mill. I can use it just to hold stuff for other things that I'm doing. So this is a pretty good vise for using all those type of things for on here. And also, besides that vise, I also have this table that I mounted on my chuck, so it goes on and off my chuck. It's on a faceplate, custom faceplate. And now what I do is I can take this, come on, there we go, and put this on here. And now I have a table, and I can set this table to any angle that I want. I can set it vertical if I want and lock it down so I can hold my piece here. If I want to hold it at an angle, I can turn it to hold it at an angle while I'm working on it. So this is a nice little table also that works off of my headstock. I can pull my tailstock up here and lock it down so as to give this stability while I'm using it. Again, don't use a hammer when you're using this. Use your head. So this is actually going to be very handy table. Quite honestly, this is going to be a super handy table to have also for doing things on this. So the Legacy mill is now very useful for holding anything down any way I want, and not just for milling work. So now this table, this whole section and the amount of area that this thing takes up in my footprint in my shop, it does more things here than I do on any other workstation area in my shop when you think about it. Because not only can I do all those fabulous things you can do with a legacy mill, but I also do all my sanding here now. And I get good dust collection when I do that, both fine dust and my regular dust. It does wood carving I can do here. I can do wood burning. And there's lots of other things. I just hadn't even thought of it all when I get done. So the other thing I want to do is this cabinet on the underside here. I want to take it, and right now it sticks out this way. And I have a chair that's a kind of a high bar chair type thing that I can sit on, and it keeps me at a good height, so I don't have to stand here if I don't want to. I can actually sit here. And sometimes I gotta sit. Just that simple. But anyway, this is a little bit of a problem. But also, I've been thinking about my table back here. This is the template table. It has the 2 brackets on it that you mount on the underside of your top rail that hold this piece here. And I want to do away with that. What I want to do is when I move this all the way to make this flush on the front here so that I can get my chair closer. But also, that'll put this lip on the back side here. And now, I'll be able to actually take this surface to build an attachable table that I can then put my templates on it and do templating rather than having this in the way. So I think that'll be a vast improvement too once I move this cabinet and shift it to a slightly different place. Once I get that all done, I'll let you know. But as you can see, I have lots and lots of things that we're going to do with this area. And right now, I'm really pleased that I've taken this little small area of 30 inches by 7 feet and turned it into such a wonderful work area to do so many different things in my shop. So anyway, that's what I got going so far, and then now you can see what a legacy workstation can be. And you can actually take this concept and you can put it right over your workbench instead and use a regular workbench instead of the legacy mill. You could use your lathe, and then when it's not a lathe, you could have the table. There's ways of doing that by setting up this whole workstation concept. The real trick is, if you want to use it for a full workstation, you really want to give it some good lighting that you can control, good electric power to it so you can always plug and unplug things from it. You want to have a good dust hood type of thing to suck all the fine dust in that area where you're at and keep you from having to breathe it, and a good shop vac that both blows and sucks. That is just wonderful with the theme baffle that I can empty real quick and easy. So this is really working out. I'm really excited. If you have any ideas of how to do something else on here or turn it into another thing that you can do on the workstation I hadn't even thought about yet, and I'll probably come up with some more ideas before I'm done. But right now, this is working pretty good. I really like what I have. So anyway, I want to thank you for stopping by. If you like this video, please say so. Most importantly though, come back again, because we're nowhere near done with this workstation. You come back again, okay? We'll see you.